Danny, this is crazy, man. You got everybody thinking that we're kissing sisters out. See, I mean, at this point, Danny, you're drunk. Like, you know how everybody says when you tie, it's like a brother and sister kissing. Like,
no,
you never heard that? Oh, you're wild, bro.
That's the battered way of looking at things, though, right? Because
we're the battered herons, Ian.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Chris, the herons are back. Welcome, everyone, to episode number 46 of the Battered Herons podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada. Alongside me is my co-host, KBD himself, Christian Durant. How are you doing, sir?
I don't know, man. We're fucking losers, right? Like, we're losers.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Without a doubt, we are losers. 5 in a row, sir. 5 in a row. Outside of that, how are you doing?
I mean, outside of that, I guess I'm okay, right? I mean, like in terms of the podcast and in terms of the team, like this is brutal, dude. This is.
But aren't you happy that we have a bye week coming up?
I mean, I guess we're not gonna lose this week. That's for sure.
Somebody might get injured in training.
Oh, look at you, jinxed
right? That's
it,
a possibility.
I'm knocking on wood. On every single wood platform.
That's what happens to us. Like it's been a rough couple weeks. And I mean, I know it was maybe hyperbole when I put on the thumbnail the worst team in MLS possibly, but when you really think about it, and we'll get into it later, maybe it's not that much hyperbole. Like maybe there might be some facts behind that, and maybe we might be the worst team. I mean, if you really think about it, if Drake doesn't stand on his head the first 2 games, we might not have any points right now. But I mean, before we get into all of that stuff.
Yeah,
let's talk about
Drake is saving grace.
For sure. Before we get into that, though, let's talk about this past weekend against Dallas. You and I both thought we're playing at home. We're a great home team. We were a great home team, right? We felt confident whenever we're playing at home. And, I mean, obviously things didn't go our way, and it's a lot of the same this week. What were your takeaways from Saturday's game?
We need offense, right? Like, I mean, it's...
Yes. Well, we got Campana back. That was supposed to be what we were waiting for.
Well, and you know, a lot of people were telling me don't think that he's just gonna come in and storm and 3-4 goals, because I was just getting ahead of myself. But I mean, I'm trying to see the shining light at the end of the tunnel, because he's finally back. He gets the start, which is something that I imagine all fans were dreaming for. Right, we finally have him and Joseph starting.
We both said we needed to happen last week, right?
Yeah, and it finally happens, and we don't get great productivity for the first half. Like, there's one thing that Neville said in the post game: the first 45 minutes were just a disaster. It was a mess.
Well, let's get into that real quick. So the first half, I got some numbers here. 30 minutes into the game, Dallas had 7 shots, 4 on target. We should have been losing 2-3-0 within the first 30 minutes. Like, we got lucky that we weren't getting our ass kicked 30 minutes into the game. At halftime, we had 63% possession. We had 1 shot. They basically did what Cincinnati did, which was what we said they would do, is they took the lead. Then they played the low block, and they said, good luck breaking us down. They put 5 in the back, and we had absolutely no answer. We didn't know what to do. And I honestly don't know what the solution is. We were playing the whole cross the ball in and hope for a miracle, because that's what we thought. Maybe Campana's back. Maybe he can win a header. But that ain't happening. And it's almost... You know that, and it's cliche, right? That the whole insanity, the definition of insanity, do the same thing over and hope for a different result. I guess they kept doing the same thing because maybe Campana's here, maybe it'll be a different result, but it wasn't. And this team is lost right now offensively. Like, you can get all the possession you want in the world, kick it back and forth between each other, but unless you're pushing forward and breaking down the defense, what are we really doing? So it was really disappointing.
Well, one thing that and Alpha's checking in and letting us know he's about 6 rows from the pitch. You know, he sees that the players are frustrated. They're missing runs all over the place. he's hearing these players mouthing off at each other, and we could see it too, right? We see the frustration. And one of the things that me as a fan that I'm pretty frustrated about is the outlook on Stefanelli before the season was grand. I mean, so many people were talking so highly of him, including me. And I just the last couple games, I think aside from that game that he scored the goal, a goal on that game, aside from that, he's been a non-factor, at least to me.
I look, I tell you every week, I think he just goes out there and runs and plays and does cardio. Like he's just getting a good cardio workout in, because to me, he doesn't have an impact on the game. And I think that the Stefanelli experiment has to end. There's a few experiments that need to end by now, right? Because I think there's a couple players that we kind of gotten tired of seeing just lollygagging around.
Well, the one thing that I really want to see end is this Bryce Duke center defending midfielder, right? Get it out of here. All right.
Well,
That's
I think,
number
and
one.
we're going to get into that later, right? I think that's going to be addressed this week with the new signing, and we're going to get into that later. But yes, okay, that's one. What else?
I just want to tell all the Facebook people that are listening, you're all idiots. Okay. You're idiots. Okay.
Why? I don't get on Facebook. I don't know.
There are literal posts on the Facebook Inter Miami stratosphere where these people are calling for Bryce Duke's head. I mean, you have got to be.
But Bryce
kidding.
Duke hasn't been playing well, though.
Listen,
even if he's playing out of position, he's not playing well. He's playing scared. He keeps playing the ball back.
Listen, everybody is with this whole. There's people on the Facebook page that want Duke out of here. Like, these people are out. You guys are out of your mind. Like, what kind of drugs are you on? Send them over, please, because I need some of that. And like the whole
We don't condone drug usage on this show.
Well, look. At the end of the day, another thing that bothers me is this Firefield crap, and we're gonna get to it too.
That still bothers you. You're not on the train yet.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it because I got some stuff to say about that. But it's getting out of hand with these. All right, people.
Well, let's go to the very end of the game before we keep talking about the game, because I do want to address this, and I don't want to forget. So at the very end of the game, it was a shitty game from beginning to end. But in the 97th minute, all of a sudden we thought we had a miracle, right? Something just landed on our lap. We thought we got a PK, right? We got a penalty kick. It was right in front of us. And it was going to be a beautiful moment if we would have gotten the kick and we would have converted, because a lot of people were leaving at that time. And then the stand right where like you leave the stands, right, where you walk under to leave, that had gotten full of people. So those are just people just standing up everywhere.
Right in front of us too.
If they would have had a chance to take that kick, they would have scored and would have ran to the fans, and everybody would have been just standing there celebrating. That would have been one hell of an image, right? That would have made up for the shitty game. It would have been an awesome feeling, and it would have been awesome. It would have looked awesome. Yes, it would have been 1 point, but still, it just would have felt good. It would have been cool.
Would have been something.
We didn't get the kick. But you and I were just sitting there as we were waiting for the VAR, and we were going back and forth about who we thought was going to take that kick. Now, I thought it should be Pizarro. You thought it should be Mota. Now, I don't know if they announced who it was supposed to be, but you got a video, and Mota was stretching that hamstring. It looked like he was getting ready to either sail it to the 30th row or burn a hole to the back of the net. It was one or the other. Like, there's no in between with him. Like, who do you think was going to take that kick? Did they say who it was?
Well, I mean, from what you saw in the video and from what I was pointing out to you, it really looked like Mota was it was his time, baby. He was getting ready to rock and roll and send a rocket either to the back of the net, like you said, or to FIU Stadium, right? I mean, at this point, like, I would have preferred that Pizarro take it, because I guess he's a little bit more clinical in his finishing.
Yeah,
I guess
for sure. I would have.
But listen, Mota, he's gonna look at Pizarro and he's gonna say, no, that's my baby right there. So I mean, I get it. The whole thing of him stretching, that was just extreme.
Yeah, he was stretching that hamstring, like he really like a deep stretch, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's getting ready. He's getting ready."
No,
and you know why he was getting ready? Because he didn't have any field goal attempts during the game.
Well, he did have one. Alpha mentions no beer for Chris. He did say if he got 2 blasters, that I would have gotten a beer from Alpha. I mean, by then the bars are closed, but that one extra blaster from the penalty kick would have been it. Probably would have hit Rob Wise right in the head.
Well, so the game ends, we lose, and we end the game with 69% possession. Now, that seems like pure domination, right? You just dominated the ball. But again, they allowed us to get that because they were dominating the first 30 minutes, right? It was chance after chance. And after the first 30 minutes, they just played the low block and played the counter. They just allowed us to hold possession. And I was curious as to where we stand as far as the league goes in possession. Like, which is the team that holds the highest percentage of possession? Okay, so I looked it up. And Miami's in third. Okay, they're not first, they're third, 57%. You want to know what two teams are above them? The only two teams. Okay,
Is
Philly, no.
Is Philly up there? No?
No.
I would have anticipated Philly to be up there.
The only two teams that hold possession more than Inter Miami are LA Galaxy, which are horrible,
Are losers.
and Charlotte, which are horrible.
Are losers. So a bunch
the
of
top
losers.
the top three teams that hold the most possession in the league are all horrible. That's right. Inter Miami is included in there. Horrible. Because they don't know what to do with it. They're just passing it around back and forth. And the other teams are like, go ahead, have fun, keep your possession. You're not scoring, so we're not worried. And that's just what it is. And that made me feel so much worse when I saw that we're third and the only two teams that hold more possession than us are just worse than us, Galaxy and Charlotte. So obviously, holding possession, unless you're doing nothing in the final third with it, it's really pointless, and it's proved to be that.
Well, and it's really frustrating to see, especially the fact that everybody knows that Inter Miami is basically in the Messi sweepstakes, and so like in the back of everybody's mind, you know that everybody's thinking we gave Pozuelo up for a potential future, and at this point, like we might not have a future in terms of like success. Just based off the fact that we gave a guy up that was showing extreme promise.
A lot of people have said that we sacrificed this season for Messi, and it feels that way because this team without a 10 is lost. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but everybody that wants Neville out already, remember, we looked really bad last year also. So much so that we benched Gonzalo, and things didn't pick up until we got that 10. Right. And that was in the summer transfer. So could things change once we get a 10? Yes. But it feels so far from now that how bad are we going to be up until then? Like we got things rolling a little bit, right? Throughout the year, we win a couple, lose a couple. We're winning at home and losing on the road is basically what we're doing. But right now, we're not even defending home. So how are we going to look when we get to the summer? Like if you fall too far behind, then it's pointless to get a 10 at that point because we're too far in the hole. So it's disappointing because it does feel like they sacrificed.
And with the way that they're playing, it doesn't help that we don't have that support in the middle, and it feels kind of like that we're going backwards in terms of like how we were playing like last year in the beginning of the season when we're trying to work it through the wings. You know, the biggest problem at this point is that we just have our like both of our wing backs pushing up so far ahead, so it leaves us exposed every single time.
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. No, and last year, you know, we only had Yedlin pushing up, so like I guess the backs would sort of rotate towards his side to make up for the fact that Yedlin is pushing up, so it can give him an opportunity to come back. But
and we had Gregory dropping back also to assist.
And also, but now we have both of them flying off. So now you got Kristoff and McVay trying to play Superman here. And they're doing a great job, by the way. They're doing phenomenal in the back line. It's not like we're allowing 100 goals per game, right? So they're doing something right.
But you know what? I think that's skewed. The two reasons why I think our defense is worse than it's looked. First, because Drake has made our defense look better because he's made such amazing saves. Like every game, it seems like we should have allowed 2 or 3 more goals, but Drake hasn't allowed it. That's why he should be considered goalie of the year so far, right? So that's one. That's why one reason why the defense looks better than it really is. And two, if Dallas wanted to keep attacking, they would have kept scoring. The first 30 minutes, they were dominating and getting and taking shots. They got close, but we got lucky, Drake or off the post, whatever it may be. And then they took their foot off the pedal. After they took that 1-0 lead, they allowed us to start
Yeah.
holding possession and then kind of just bring the ball up. So that's why our defense, I think, looks better than it really has. But this past game, we finally got the 3 in the back that we've been asking for, just not
Yeah.
the way we thought.
Well, and I think it's because I think that they wanted to play Taylor in, and let me tell you something. If there's any shining star on offense that's happening right now, it's Taylor. He's the only one to me that has actually, other than Mota, because Mota, he hasn't been too bad on offense. He's been moving the ball around decently. He isn't. He
He has
isn't.
beautiful touch, especially on his passes.
Yeah, I mean, other than Mota, I think Taylor has been making. He's been one that is not afraid of trying to go one-on-one, but obviously he can't do it all on his own. He's not going to try to either. He doesn't seem to be a selfish player, and he wants to work with the system or whatever's in place. That's the only thing that's just gleaming as far as hope is concerned. But the back line to me, I don't know. I feel like Kristoff and McVay have been doing a pretty good job in the middle.
But when you go with 3 in the back, right? Because they eventually switched to 3 in the back, right? That's not how
Yeah.
how the lineup came out when they posted the lineup. But eventually,
Yeah.
it looked like it was 3 in the back with Yedlin playing the right center back.
Yeah.
But why on earth would you have Yedlin playing that position when you could have had Saylor or Mabika out there? Now, I prefer Saylor. If you want to put Mabika out there, that's fine. And I'm not saying that Yedlin did a horrible job, but he did get beat to the spot on that goal where the guy passed it into Ferreira in the middle and then scored. So I think that we should have, if we're going to have 3 center backs, let's have 3 center backs. Like, why are we playing Yedlin there? Like, that's kind of head scratching. Is it because he's scared to bench Yedlin? Is it because he's technically the team captain, so we have to keep him out there?
But you don't think that maybe he doesn't want to gas all of our defenders? Because it could be that, right? Because if you play Kristoff, McVay, Yedlin, Negri, and you play some other random center back, right? At some point
Sailor.
out of those, yeah, okay, fine. At some point, 2 out of those 5 are gonna get gassed. And so what? You're gonna
No,
you're gonna
you're talking about. No, I don't think so. I think, look, Harry Neville is the one that's coming in to spell one of the wing backs, right? Which is basically what's been happening.
yeah.
And when you're playing center back, you're not pushing up like you are when you're at the wings. I don't know. I really think that putting Yedlin back there was, I don't want to say a mistake, because again, he didn't look horrible,
Yeah.
but he was part of the problem on that one goal. And to me, it just makes more sense to have Saylor out there. Saylor's played the position. He's played 3 in the back last year. He showed that he's good enough to start. Like, I don't understand. If you want to have Taylor play the wing back, that's Yedlin's position, then just take Yedlin out. Like, and I think that might be coming, but we're going to get into that in a second. But for now, it just didn't make much sense to me.
Well, since we're talking about defense, and Steve mentions that we're pretty thin at center back, sticking with the defensive parameters here, since we're talking about defenders and we're talking about Duke now, right? Because I just wanted to throw that in there because Duke seems like he's a defender at this point. Alpha mentions there was a lot of hesitation from Duke. I mean, the problem is Duke is playing back there with a goalie. Like,
he wasn't playing back there that much last year.
Look, I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like, come on, like Duke isn't where he's supposed to be. If there's one gripe that I do have with what's going on with Neville is that there are players that are playing out of position, and to touch base on what we were talking about earlier with Pozuelo, right? Pete asks, wouldn't it be ironic if Messi doesn't come in June and we try to get Pozuelo from Turkey? And I haven't looked into this much, but is that even possible? Because I will send any scout, I will forward a Western Union check to anyone in the Inter Miami CF, whatever, and put them on a plane, hopefully with no fireworks around, to go get Pozuelo in Turkey.
And you know what's the best part about that is that if that were to happen and we get Pozuelo back, everybody would be singing Chris Henderson's praises. It's like, oh, In Henderson, we trust. He brought back
Even though,
Pozuelo.
even though you
Even though
allowed
let
him
go
to
past
kick
the year.
rocks. Look at that. Look at that, Hendo. Everybody's supporting you. Get out of here, Hendo. You allowed Pozuelo, the most shining piece, to kick
Okay, but
rocks. Get out of here.
all right, let me make sure I like Henderson. I can't believe how blind people are that they give him a pass for absolutely everything. It was a bad move to let Pozuelo go. And everybody's saying that it's for Messi. Okay, let's see. If he can pull off Messi, then it's forgiven. But until Messi's here, yeah, I'm sorry. It was a bad move.
Let's not
All
even
right.
mention Messi. I just want to preface this by saying Chris Hendo let go of Pozuelo for Stefanelli. How about that, fans? How about that?
If I were to ask you who the best defender on the team so far this year is, a lot of people have a certain answer that surprises me. Who do you think is the best defender thus far this year?
I think that at the end of the day, people are going to mention Negri because of his activeness, whatever. But Kristoff he's the one that's
He's the
best
rock.
defender by far. He
I
is
agree
by
with you.
far the best defender.
I agree with you. He is the rock in the back line, and Negri. Maybe it's because he hasn't had too many opportunities to defend because he's always playing up top and in the wing. But to me, he hasn't been the best defender, by nowhere near. I guess because he's contributed so much offensively, people automatically say him because he technically is a defender, but he's contributed much more on the offense than on the defense. And I mean, a lot of the goals have come from his side. Like, for the most part, teams are attacking that side of the field. I looked at the last two games. The game before this one against Cincinnati, 40% of their offense was built up on the right side. Their right, our left, right? So Negri side. Last game against Dallas, 44% of their offense was built up on that side of the field. They're attacking the right side of the field because Negri is always out of position. He's the one that got caught. I mean, they did the rope-a-dope with him, right? They hit the ball, caught up on the other end.
Yeah.
And they started that play on that side. And it was such a quick goal. I didn't realize until I watched the game back how quickly that goal built up. Like, it was goal, 2 touches, down the sideline, down the wing, and then cross to the center. And it was crazy. And after that, just play defense. But so to what everybody's saying, Negri being the best defender, maybe when you talk about overall contributions offensively and defensively, but strictly as a defender, it's been Kristoff to me, hands down. And I don't think there isn't really a valid debate to it.
I don't think that there's a valid debate either. I think that Kristoff just through and through has been the best if we're talking about defense, just pure the role of a defender, he is that guy.
Interceptions and block shots,
Yes. And so there's no way that you can dispute that. Now, as far as Negri, if he was to kind of tone it back a little bit, I think that he can be able to kind of go head and head in terms of the comparison with Kristoff. But the problem here is that he's pushing up too high. Other teams are watching videos of Inter Miami, and they're preparing, and they're looking at that, and they're saying, they're all looking at their right wingers, and they're like, you're going to have a beautiful day, my friend, because it is going to be open seas.
Go up the right wing, play to the center, have whoever the left wing cut to the back post. Go ahead, hit the guy in the back post, and either take the shot or cut it back to the center. And it's every goal has looked almost identical. Franco Panizo, if you don't follow him on Twitter, go ahead and follow him. He had a beautiful breakdown. They showed a video of every single goal that we've allowed, and so many look almost identical, coming up the right wing and hitting the center back post, and it's ridiculous. I think it was 8 goals. I want to say 4 or 6 of them were that way, and then the other 2 were set pieces. It's like textbook against us. It's ridiculous, and I'm not sure what we're gonna do. But that's enough about the defense. Let's talk about the real issue, right? Because although I think that our defense isn't as good as it has been statistically, because teams are just defending and they're like, don't worry, they're not going to score. We don't have to keep trying to score. We can't do shit on offense. Campana finally came back. We had finally the Campana-Joseph tandem, right? The one that I predicted would give us 30 goals combined. And so far, 7 games in, goose egg from both. Now, Campana's defense, it's only 1 game. But Joseph, 6 games in, right? He missed 1 game, 6 games in, and no goals from our strikers. What are we thinking, Chris? What do we got to do?
I'm gonna pencil this down. I'm gonna pencil this down as Campana just returning from a long period off of an injury.
That's what we used to say
You
about
know,
Joseph.
and I guess I mean, look at the thing is, it's like you said in one of the earlier shows, right? He got an injury to his calf, which sounds like it's bullcrap, but in reality, like it's the most important part. Like you're literally on your legs all day running. So like that's pretty important. I don't know if you remember, but there was a point like I think 15, 20 minutes into the game, we saw Campana on the ground and he was favoring
Yeah.
his leg. And
We thought that he
that
had pulled that hamstring or calf. Yeah.
that alone, I was terrified because I thought to myself, this is going to be bad. Imagine he starts and 15, 20 minutes in, he's gone. Oh my God. It would have been a disaster times
Oh, well,
20.
100%. All the people that were like, oh, no, he can't start. He has to come off the bench. They have to start him off easy. Oh, everybody would have been having a field day. Like, you see, I told you he can't start. Like, thank God he got up because that shit would have been a pain in the ass to hear. But he didn't contribute. Good.
And I think the problem with Joseph, look, bottom line is these guys, they have the
Is he getting
potential of
service or
scoring.
is he just playing like shit? Is he not getting service or is he just playing like crap?
I don't think that he's getting great service, dude. I mean,
I think it's a
you know
little
who's
of both
getting
because he's had opportunities.
you know who's getting great service? All the midfielders are getting great service, and they're just doing nothing with it and giving each other great service, right? Like great service. Get out of here with that. They're passing it to each other, and nobody wants to kick the ball. You got Negri trying to blast them from like 40 feet. You got Mota trying to blast them. Like, you know, the opportunities that Joseph has had this year, they haven't been great. They haven't been like these. I'll take that away. There was a game, and I don't remember what game it was. I'm gonna look back at the schedule, but there was a game that he did play where I think he had like 2-3 good opportunities, and he just crapped the bed. But the service hasn't been great. And has Joseph come, in the clutch? No, I don't think so either. But it's got to take it's a teamwork thing here, baby. Like you need the pass, you need the chicken to have the egg, right? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. And Steve chimes in. Campana deserves time to get back into game shape. I feel like we've been saying this about Joseph all year also, though. That said, as long as we refuse to combine in the middle and make it easy for the opponents to defend Inter, then it won't matter. Cross and Insala. Well, I look, Alex Winley, right? Another great follow on Twitter. She said it's the cross and pray. And that's basically what we're playing on offense.
Yes.
The cross and pray. We cross the ball and we pray that somebody's going to come up with a header on the other end of it. And once Campana went out of the game, we were still implementing that, even though the only forward we have at that point that's over 5 foot is Joseph, which is 5'7". I know he's got some vert with him, but it's not the way to play with this team. It hasn't worked for the last 7 games. I know that we scored 4 goals in the first 2 games, but we've gone over this. The first game, those 2 goals were luck. I said it from the start, and everybody was shitting on me for it, but it was luck, those first 2 goals. And in the second game against Philadelphia, we had 2 beautiful goals from outside the box. Goko from outside the box, and then Robert Taylor, which might be the goal of the year. So we haven't created chances. We haven't created goals. And this offense looks so putrid that I think it might be one of the worst. The only reason I don't say it's the worst is because I believe there is a team out there that only has scored 2 goals all year. And because of that, I don't say we're the worst.
The thing is, I don't know if it's a fair. Okay, I don't know
Kansas
if it's
City,
a fair.
Kansas City is the team that's only scored 2 goals all year.
I don't know if it's a fair assessment to make to say that we are like the worst offensively when, first of all, we haven't had Campana all season. He's literally played like 50 minutes, right? 50, 55, 60 minutes, whatever it is, right? We had Joseph. I think he was missing for like 2 games, maybe, or 1 game. I'm not sure, but he was missing
Joseph
for
missed
like
1
a
game for international duty, which is the only time he scored all week.
Yeah. So other than that, right? And on top of that, he didn't play full games in the first 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. The only goals that we've had were from other players not named Campana or Joseph. So like at this point, I don't know if it's fair to say that we suck offensively when
Yes, it is.
our
They suck.
main guys our main guys that we're expecting to put the ball in the back of the net haven't had the their due opportunity to do so at least as frequently as we'd like.
Look,
I don't know.
Pete said that it looks like Joseph's getting frustrated, right? Not getting much service, but what the times that he has gotten service, he hasn't converted, right? He's muffed a lot of kicks, honestly. So he looks like he's getting frustrated, and I think that it's about time that we give him the Gonzalo treatment to see if he can get his head back on, right? Because I don't know what else to do with the guy. Like I really had high hopes for him, and I'm starting to lose that hope. And Steve Munoz chimed in saying, yes, Danny, but our attack was more balanced. The stats were out since Gregory's injury. It's been strictly attacking through the wings. Okay, that's true. But honestly, Gregory, outside of the fact that now Mota has to stay back instead of pushing forward so much, like in those first 2 games, we weren't necessarily creating great opportunities in the final third either. Like I said, we got that set piece goal where we've said a bunch of times on here, Christoph hit that hip thruster goal. And then the Lassiter, it's his go-to move. The Lassiter off the post, and then Borgelin got 2 strikes at it, and he scored. I understand. Maybe we did look better the first 2 games, but honestly, they haven't impressed me at all at any point throughout. The only game where I thought that we looked decent in the final third was that NYCFC game. The NYCFC game, I thought we were creating chances. I thought that was Joseph's best game. I thought that's what he had found the best chances, even though he sailed the ball over the post a couple times.
I wanna touch base on a subject that you brought up, that we should give him the Higuain treatment. I don't know if that's necessarily fair, because I think there's a different standard, a different expectation from the both, right? From Higuain, he's a DP, he's this amazing player that played in Europe, right? I think that the expectation was extremely higher for Higuain than it is for Joseph, who's not on a DP agreement, who's a ways away from his prime, right? Everybody was talking about how the turf was affecting his legs, his knees, and we're basically getting him at a bargain bin discount. So I think that the expectations aren't seen the same to be able to judge him with the same scope that the fan base judged him, that judged Higuain.
I can agree to an extent, because I agree. We knew that Joseph had dropped off a little bit, and we were all hopeful that he would get back to form. But we thought that he would get back to form as far as he scores 1 goal in the first 5 or 6 games, right?
Yeah.
That's not Joseph Martinez from old, but that's still a decent striker. But to not score at all, or to not look like he's himself at all through 6 games, like, I'm sorry, that's a big drop off from what we were expecting. And maybe we weren't expecting MVP Joseph. I agree. Maybe we weren't. I was hopeful that he would get close to that, but not even close. Like that's the part that scares me, is that it's not even close.
Well, I think that for namesake, I think that it's easy to be able to judge him differently. But if we were to just put a no-face guy on Joseph Martinez, right? Take away the name, take away the player, no-face guy. All of a sudden, you get him at bargain bin discount. You're not even paying like his whole agreement, right?
He wouldn't be playing right now.
Yeah, well, if he'd be performing like this, you kind of be like, whatever. But because it's Joseph Martinez, right? And a couple years ago, he was a badass, right? Now you're thinking, things need to be a little different, Joseph.
If Joseph wasn't on the back of his jersey, he wouldn't be playing right now. Or Martinez, I guess. He wouldn't be playing right now, right? He'd be getting the La Cava treatment, even though La Cava hasn't played at all. But he wouldn't get any playing time if it wasn't Joseph Martinez. Everybody thinks it's Joseph. He has it in him. He scored when he was playing for Venezuela. Oh, it's it. He's coming. He got out of his funk. He saw the ball go in the back of the net, and still nothing. So,
well, Richard Greenberg, just before we get to the next topic, Richard Greenberg chimes in, says Houston's best player, Herrera, got a red card last game, not playing against
But
Miami. Listen,
no, but that means that he won't play this coming week. But we play them in 2 weeks, so he'll be back.
that's
So,
gonna suck.
Yeah. And Steve, Joseph has missed some looks, but also, according to Alex Winley, Joseph gets touches about every 15 minutes. Hard to get going like that. This is true also. Last game against Dallas, I want to say in the first half, I saw Ian Hest, another great follow. Ian Hest had put after the first half that I want to say, man, I forgot who they were, but like 5 of Dallas's top players had all gotten 19 touches or more. Campana and Joseph combined in the first half, 23 touches. So yes, they're not getting touches, obviously. So they can't. But Joseph has had clear opportunities, which is what has been frustrating people, because I know that he needs a 10 feeding him the ball. I know that Campana being there will help him, but he has had opportunities and he hasn't been able to nail those. A lot of those, he's had soft dribblers in front of the goalie that have been no issue for the goalie to stop. And it sucks because 2020 or 2019 Joseph would have rocked those. So
before you get to the next topic, I wanted to bring that one up. What you're bringing up now, the Heron Outlet crew are excellent follows. Shout out to them for sure. I mean, Danny was just talking about Alex Winley. And one thing,
Hest and Austin, all 3 of them are awesome.
Now, Alpha just mentioned if a USL or MLS 2 team can beat an MLS team, then you are bad. Alpha, stick around because we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Just a little teaser. Little teaser.
All right. So real quick, now I said that I put on the thumbnail, is Inter Miami the worst team in the MLS? A little bit of hyperbole maybe, but I think it's a valid argument. If I were to ask you, how would you identify the worst team in MLS, Chris? What would you say? What would be the first question you ask? Like if I tell you, and you never listened to you never paid attention to MLS, but I told you this is the worst team, what would be the one thing that you asked me? Okay, why is it the worst team?
Because they're not scoring goals.
Okay, not scoring goals.
That's what I would say.
Not that. I would say they have the most losses.
Okay.
Did you know that Inter Miami has the most losses in MLS right now?
Ooh, that's
I know everybody's like, oh, but we're not worst in standings, right? We're in 10th. Actually, it should be 12th. We're 12th in standings. That needs to be updated. But we're 12th in standings. Okay. But we have the most losses in the league. The only team that has the same amount of losses as us is Montreal. And guess what? That's one of the only teams we beat, which we barely beat them because of the thrust goal, Borgelin's 3 tries, and then Drake standing on his head. So are we the worst team? We could be. We've lost more than everybody else. I think that's a pretty valid argument. If you lose more than everybody else, yeah, you might be the worst team in MLS.
How crazy is that? That in the beginning of the season, when we were previewing Montreal, we were talking about how nervous we are about this game. And here we are after beating them, talking about how terrible we are, playing everybody else except Montreal. Thing of beauty, baby.
Look, and it's because of all the draws that we're not, that so many other teams are not as bad as us, because other teams can at least draw, but we straight lose. We're like one of the few teams that has no draws. We're not kissing sisters at all, Chris. We are. No. Go ahead. We either win or we lose. That's just it. Listen, and we're doing a lot more losing than we are winning.
Listen, at this point, it's like I told you last episode. A lot of our fans would be preferring kissing sisters than what's been going on. I mean, we've been getting dick kicked. For the last couple of games, it has been a dick kicking for us. Oh, you see, same thing. Steve just brought it up. I would ask, how many goals per game are Inter conceding, right? It's kind of the same thing, right? How many goals are we
But you
conceding?
lost the most. So you're telling me that losing the most games in the league doesn't make you the worst team in Major League Soccer? Like, no team has lost more than us. Yes, Montreal has also lost 5 games, but no team has lost more than us. Oh. And thank you, Peter. Can you imagine life without Drake? If we didn't have Drake those first 2 games, we either lose or maybe we draw. let's say we draw, we'd have maybe 1 point the whole season. We have 6 points because we lucked out those first 2 games. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was really happy about those first 2 games when they happened. I'm not happy about them now. I mean, yeah, I'm still happy about them, but I'm not as
Of
impressed.
course,
I still think
because
we got
without them,
lucky.
we'd be in the dirt.
Right. Exactly. I think that we got lucky those first 2 games because of Drake. Thank God we have Drake. We have to keep Drake as long as we possibly can, because without him, we might be offered.
Well, and let's really talk about what's going on here, right? And one thing I want to, before we get to the topic that we had lined up first.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Can I cut you off a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Steve Munoz asked, how many goals per game are Inter conceding? Okay, that's a great question. Now, I mentioned this earlier. Our defense statistically, I think, looks better than it has been. 1, because of Drake, and 2, because teams aren't attacking us as much as they could or should. Dallas, if they wanted to, they could have scored another 3 or 4 goals if they wanted to. But once they took that 1-0 lead, they said, low block, 5 in the back. Good luck breaking us down. We'll take this 1-0 victory. And if we get a chance to counter, we'll take it. That's why we only conceded 1 goal this past weekend. That's why our stats look better than they do. Our defense is shit. Our defense, look at that, the first 30 minutes of that game. That's our defense. They got as many opportunities as they wanted. But once they scored, they're like, all right, that's it. We're good. We know you can't score. Let's just go ahead, defend, and good luck. And that's what it was. Because I think our defense isn't as good as those stats say. How many goals have we conceded this year? We've conceded 8 goals. Do you think the defense is good enough to just concede 8 goals? Drake Callender has a lot to do with that. And also,
hell yeah,
teams just playing the counter against us. They're like, don't worry about it. They're not going to break us down. Cincinnati and Dallas have done exactly the same things. If they wanted to score more, they could have, but they decided to just defend and not let us score. And that's what it did. And if it wasn't for that, our goal differential and the goals conceded would be a lot worse, I think.
Well, and I agree with you for sure. I mean, Drake Callender has just been a blessing, right? Without him, we'd be for sure even dirtier than the mud right now, Lucas. That's for damn sure. Okay. And Lucas brings up another point, right? As soon as the club gets rid of Pizarro and Marsman, right? That's when the final rebuild's going to take place. We're not going to have the sanctions. It's going to be beautiful, guys. It's going to be paradise.
You know what? I had no intention of talking about this, but I guess it's good since it's brought up. Pizarro has been a bright spot on this team.
Yes,
I think Pizarro has actually been one of the best players on this team, surprisingly, because I wasn't happy about keeping Pizarro. But so far, when I see him on the field, I feel good because he's the only one pushing. Me and Chris were pointing it out that when Pizarro would get the ball, he tried to push forward. And as soon as he passed to somebody else and they passed it back to a center back, you could see the frustration in Pizarro. He'd throw his head back or his arms up. He's like, what the fuck are we doing? Let's push forward. And you could see it in his face that he was frustrated. No, he is one of the bright spots, I think, this season, even though some people might not agree because the Pizarro hate is that high. And look, I'll admit, I wasn't a big Pizarro guy either. But this season, at least, he's played much better than a lot of his teammates. I'll tell you that.
Well, and Juan Rodriguez brings up time to bench Martinez. You're getting into Facebook land a little bit, Juan, but I can ride with you a little bit. But let's talk about that, right? Campana, Joseph, and Pizarro all declined to speak to media, right? Which is huge, right? Now, the problem with that is that Pizarro, to me, I can understand his frustration. Like, he's legit trying to make things happen. And I don't think that he wants to speak to the media to talk about how bad the team is because the 2 guys in the front can't do anything, right? So he's probably like, I'm not going to sit and talk to the media about you guys messing up. You guys got to take that L. Now, Campana, I can understand him not speaking to the media either. He just played like 5 minutes last game.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
That's just my opinion, because at the end of the day, what's going to come, right? You can't judge him for how he's played. He only played like 5 minutes. And what are you going to do? You're going to ask him about the injury? Inter Miami doesn't want to tell you if anybody broke a nail. So the only person that's left is Joseph to answer questions, which he should be.
Were you okay with Joseph not answering?
No, I'm not okay with that.
Look, I will tell you that I was surprised that they all declined to speak, but I think that Campana was the only one that I didn't like that he refused to speak. Joseph and Pizarro have gone through these press conferences already. What? How many times? 5 or 6 times before already. They've had
Yeah,
to deal with these. I understand them being
yeah.
frustrated and tired of talking to the media. This is Campana's first post-game press conference. What do you mean you're not going to talk to us? We haven't talked to you all year. I
Nah,
don't think Campana should have walked away. I don't give a fuck if you played 55 minutes, 5 minutes, negative 3 minutes. This is your first game. You talk to the media.
listen, but according to what Franco said, right? I believe it was Franco that mentioned it. He said that Campana told him like, "Nah, today's not the day," and Joseph just blew
But you
him
haven't
off,
talked to us all
right?
year. What do you mean
But
today's
like,
not the day? So what's the day then? When you win?
but
When
you
you
can't.
score a goal?
But
I'm sure. Oh yeah, let's
you
go talk to the media now.
but you
Joseph has
think
sat up
Campana?
there after bad games. Pizarro has sat up there after bad games. Campana hasn't. It's your turn, buddy.
Listen, I don't think that Campana has to sit down after playing 5 minutes on the field, almost
You played more
pulling a
than half the
hammy.
game.
Right. I guess I'm exaggerating like I typically do, but like you played 60, 65 minutes. I don't think that he has to sit there and answer to the media on how bad the team is doing offensively. Like Campana's gonna be like, dude, I just got here like 5 minutes ago. What are you talking
Look,
about?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I really don't care who talks to the media. I'm not that guy. Like it doesn't matter to me. I'm also okay if the coach doesn't talk. Like I don't really care too much. But I will say that if somebody has to talk to them, it should have been Campana over the other two guys. That's all I'm saying. But I don't give a crap. I don't think it's that big a deal, honestly. But I just thought that it
Well,
was weird that you said that Campana was the one that shouldn't have.
well, all right. So what's the next topic here, Danny? I'll let you decide what's gonna be the next
No,
the next thing
I
here.
got everybody's favorite topic coming up. So you and I
So that's
have
it.
been on the anti-Neville out movement, right? We don't like the
Yes.
whole just fire the manager, right? Because that's the easy thing, right? In all sports, oh, the
Yes.
team's playing bad, fire the coach, fire the manager. So you and I have been off that. But 5-game losing streak, those first 2 games were a miracle, and we're still not looking good. Is it time to finally give in to the Neville out movement? Because it's strong. It's strong. Solana has been on that movement since like before Neville got hired. He's been asking for his job. Like
you didn't
is
even
it
know
now
who the coach
time?
was.
He didn't even know who. Yeah, he wasn't even sure. But he's like, whoever's coming in here, if he's not
Get
from
him
Uruguay,
outta
get
here.
him out. So it is now. Is it time for us to jump on the Neville out movement?
Listen, Danny, you know my opinion, bro. It's lazy. It's lazy. All you Facebook people,
It's lazy, but
it's
look,
lazy.
how have we looked? But how have we looked? At some point, you have to ask that question. Like it's not lazy if you're 7 games into the season and you've lost more games than anybody else in the league. And we're supposed to be a playoff team. Like, right? All like maybe the MLS in general didn't think we were, but as far as a fan base, we all expected to be a playoff team. Maybe not top 3, but the top 9 make it basically now. So what's going on?
Well, and Solana mentioned right here. I know who he was. He had only coached
Hyperbole.
Yeah, we're not saying that you didn't know who he was. We're saying that whoever was the coach is going to be called in. But look, and Lucas mentioned Phil Neville will eventually move into the front office, have a cushy job, right? That we're not gonna sack him mid-season, but everybody's calling for his head. And it's such a lazy thing. It's so lazy. I mean, at this point, just give us some time.
Chris, let's talk about it. We've been asking for 5 in the back for the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
Right? We felt like he was stubborn and he should have done it earlier. Okay? So we feel like that's already malpractice, right? Like, what are you doing? We need 5 in the back because Mota and Duke can't play that 6. We need extra help in the back, especially if your wing backs are pushing up that far. He took forever to do it. He finally does it, and he puts Yedlin back there. So playing Duke out of position at the 6, playing Yedlin as a center back, playing Stefanelli, wherever you play Stefanelli, I feel like he's out of, because I don't know what the hell he's supposed to play. Supposedly left wing.
Listen,
I just see him running around all over the place. Like, at what point do we say maybe Neville doesn't know what he's doing.
Man, that's a stretch, bro. We're really gonna
It's
go
not a
there that he
stretch. You're
doesn't
saying that it's
know what
lazy, but
he's doing.
it's no longer lazy.
Listen, I think defensively we've been doing a better job than last year. That's for sure. I mean, Kristoff isn't the only reason that we're doing better defensively now than we were last year, right? A little bit has to do with the game planning that Phil Neville has in place. Now, does he have Negri and Yedlin flying off, on goal routes, right? He's probably thinking to himself, man, when I used to play, man, I would love to do that. So he's thinking, I got these two guys, I could just fly right down the sides, and then they could just run back on defense. Like, this isn't a perfect world. But in my opinion, I feel like if you got powerhouses at the top, that's talent. You got to score, buddy. Like, you came in to score goals.
You're not on the Neville out yet.
No, I'm not there yet. Yet. I feel like it's still lazy.
I'm not there either.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm closer, but I'm not there either. And you know why I'm not there either? After the game, Neville came out, and in his press conference, he said, one of the issues we have is that players are getting comfortable, but they're not going to be comfortable anymore. In 2 weeks,
that's big boy
there's
talk.
some players. In 2 weeks, we have players that haven't had an opportunity yet, and they're going to get an opportunity now because these players have to stop being so comfortable. And that's the kind of talk I want to hear. I would have liked to hear that a week or two ago, but we're there. He did it. He said it. I'm with it. And because of that, I am not on the Neville out yet either, because I like that he's like, you know what? I got to change some shit around. And maybe it was the fact that he was waiting for the Campana Joseph. Let's see if Campana Joseph can finally get something going. Now he got it. He got it for only 55 minutes, but he's like, you know what? Some shit has to change. And I honestly think Joseph's going to be one of those changes.
Well, I think that message was directed to two people specifically. It was directed to Joseph and to Stefanelli. I think those two people specifically were geared to hear that message.
I think there's one more person that you're not including.
Ooh, who's that? Let me
Yedlin.
Ooh,
Yedlin. I think
what?
Yedlin hasn't been playing all that great. Now, you know what the problem is with Yedlin is that
Harvey Neville plays the backup.
Yes.
So now you got the whole daddy-son thing. Ooh.
Right. And nepotism. Everybody talking about nepotism and whatnot. Unless you want to play Robert Taylor there, which I know we were having this conversation last week and people were saying, no, he never played right back. I'm pretty sure he played right back at some point. Yeah, last game he played right wing back. So I think Robert Taylor might get that spot over Yedlin. I really do. And I think that is one of the other people he might have indirectly been speaking to. I think there's a chance that maybe Yedlin gets benched.
Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. I mean, Solana mentions that he's the captain. He's got to step it up, right?
How is Drake not the captain?
At this point, I think Drake's gonna get that banned because, like, you can't take him off anyway. You're gonna take him out for Marsman. Like, get out of here.
Drake leads the league in saves. And look, and I remember I brought this stat up a couple of weeks ago when I said that Drake should be considered for MVP. I brought up this stat last year. Andre Blake from Philly was goalie of the year, best defense of the year, and he was nowhere near the top in saves because when you have the best defense, you don't face that many shots. Well, supposedly, our defense isn't as bad as I'm saying, but Drake is leading the league in saves. Yeah. There's a reason why we haven't given up a lot of goals, and it's because Drake is standing on his head. He's doing everything possible to keep us in games. So the fact that Drake is leading the league in saves, I think he should be the captain. He's the reason that we're still in these games because, man, could like Peter said earlier, could you imagine life without Drake?
Yeah, that would be brutal. And I'll tell you one thing. A lot of people have been bringing this guy up in the chat, right? One of our other topics that we wanted to touch up on, Dixon Arroyo is out there floating around. And the question is this guy going to make a difference on the team? I've done a little bit of research on him just so everybody knows where my point of view is. When it
I
comes to
haven't.
FIFA, this guy's 68. Okay. To me, that is basura. If you're 68
Oh,
on
shut up.
FIFA and you're coming over here and you're touted, get out of here.
All right,
All right,
let's be clear.
maybe I'm going a
The,
little crazy.
the FIFA rating, if you want to go based off of FIFA ratings, if you play for a South American league and you're in the high 60s, you're a good player. If we're going just based off of FIFA
Yeah.
ratings. So I think Campana was like in the low 60s when he came over here. So look, everybody's saying he's a solid 6, he's a true 6. And if that's true, we finally free up Malta and Bryce Duke to play their natural positions at the 8. And that could do a world of wonder for our offense, because everybody's saying that Gregory's loss hasn't just affected us defensively, but also
Yeah.
offensively. And that's because we've had Bryce Duke and Mota trying to fill in that void. But now when we free him up to play just an 8, I think that that's going to make a world of difference. And if this guy, Dixon Arroyo, is as good as everybody's saying, or even average, because we don't have even an average defensive midfielder, I think that can make a big difference, which we need it. We need it badly.
Well, we do need it badly. I mean, I see. I think he's scored a couple goals for MLS. I think that's who he's playing for, or he's signed with right now.
But we don't want him to score goals.
Yeah, I mean, we want him to play the midfield and play defensively and help us in the back to sort of link some of the players together. I mean, I think it's a quick Band-Aid. I don't want to see this guy. I mean, look, I don't know if he's going to be
Steve Munoz
like.
said it beautifully. The only other center defending midfielder that we have is Ulloa. And Ulloa seems like a really nice guy. He seems like maybe the UD. He's going to be here forever and eventually get a front office role. But
And a rocking chair.
I mean, I'll take Dixon over Ulloa. I mean, that's just what it is. Now, before we get on to the next topic that Chris is dying to talk about for some reason, I did want to finish up with this game. We are now on a 5-game losing streak, right? Now, Ian Hest said, he put this out on Twitter. This is only the second time in MLS history that a team loses 5 straight after winning their first 2 games of the season. Only other time that happened was 1998 Chicago Fire. Now, luckily, the only other time it's happened, that team ended up winning the title at the end of the year. So it kind of worked out for them. Are we going to get that luck? I have no idea. But it's a long season. All you need is a ticket to the dance. There's more than half the league makes the playoffs now. So all hope isn't lost. And maybe Dixon Arroyo helps us out. Campana and Joseph get clicking together. Neville starts pulling some ears and making some moves. I haven't lost complete hope, but I am glad that next week's a bye week because I need a week off from this crap.
Well, I'm gonna read up on this guy Dixon for sure. I'm gonna check him out. Check him out on YouTube. I'll play with him a little bit on FIFA too. We'll see what's going on over there. And but look, I'm looking forward to it because it is the link that we need. It is the piece that we need. Do I think that this is going to be like the piece that's going to solve the whole puzzle? I don't think so. I don't. But we'll have to see. I mean, only time can tell, you know?
Steve Munoz said MLS was less competitive back in 98, referring to when I said that Chicago won the title after that. Yeah, but we didn't have 9 teams making the playoffs back then either. Remember, all you need is a ticket to the dance. So all we need to do is finish in the top 9, make the playoffs, and then it's a free-for-all, especially if we have, a couple good summer signings, because the team that we had in the second half of last year wasn't the same team that we had in the beginning of the year. So if you can make it to the playoffs and then have a better team in the second half of the year, anything can happen. We just got to make it there.
You're mentioning we need a 6. Solana's mentioning we need a 5. We got Lucas mentioning we need a 10. I mean, at this point, we're just going to have to jump back into the Coco Jean bargain bin and just try to pick somebody out.
I think after signing Arroyo, all we need is a 10. That's what we need. As far as the team construction, we need a 10. That's just
maybe we can, like somebody mentioned earlier, maybe we can run over to Turkey and grab Pozuelo in the summer. So,
ooh, there we go, Steve Munoz, getting us right on target. This is the next topic right there. Look at that, Chris.
Yeah, you see, bitch, and you didn't want to talk about it, mother effer. Listen, so there's been a topic that Danny and I have been talking a little bit about for the past maybe day or two, and it's right up your alley, my friend. Steve mentions, a question to us: are we going to the match against Miami FC? I told Danny that if he doesn't go, he's a bitch. So yes, he's going, and I'm for sure going. Okay, I'm done with you, Danny. And the question is Miami Classico? Do Inter Miami fans really care about this rivalry? It's already been mentioned like 2 or 3 times in this chat.
But let's be clear.
So
The
go
reason
ahead,
people
Danny.
care about going so much is because it's the only Inter Miami game that gets played in Miami. So everybody's excited to be able to have a 15, 20-minute drive instead of the hour drive that we usually take to Fort Lauderdale. Like, that's why everybody wants to
Listen,
go to this
that's-
game. If we had that stadium right down the street from FIU, do you think people would be dying to go to this game? Like, do you really want to go to FIU to watch a soccer game? Like, do you really care
Listen,
about
that's
Miami
all-
FC?
That's all semantics, Danny. That's all semantics. You could sprinkle in the little distance, the sweet water, but at the end of the day, people are interested. And of course,
They're interested
Steve
because
chiming
it's
in.
local. It's like Steve said, I care because it's close to me, which is the only reason everybody cares. Nobody cares. This isn't a rivalry. Nobody cares about Miami FC.
No, I didn't
If
say it was a rivalry.
you said we need to go because it's important, it's not
Yeah,
important. Nobody
it's an
cares about
important-
Miami FC.
It's an important
No, it's
game
not.
in the community.
It's important if we lose. If we lose, all of a sudden we look horrible. But like,
Well,
it's
it's
not an
like-
important game.
It's like what somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, right? I think it was
Peter.
Steve or Lucas. Yeah, it was. It might have been Peter mentioning that if we lose to a USL team or an MLS 2 team, then we're basically trash.
Exactly.
So-
So this game doesn't really matter unless you lose, but we're not supposed to lose that game. If we lose, then it matters. But am I dying to go there? Maybe if it was a weekend, but on a Wednesday? I don't know. And then you see
Listen,
the
it's a
prices for
Wednes-
that? It's like 40, 50
No, I
bucks.
didn't.
I'm not paying 40, 50
No.
bucks to go to FIU. Yeah.
No, it's not.
yeah.
Is it 40, 50 bucks?
Last year we paid like 10 or 20. I'm not paying 50 bucks to go to FIU to watch that game. Like, get out of here.
Listen,
So-
somebody try to find out the prices. If it's 40, 50 bucks,
Solana said it's 10 bucks. I saw somewhere that was 40, 50 bucks. I thought it was 20. Look, so we got,
Lucas
I saw
is
somebody
20.
said 40. Solana said 10. Lucas said 20. Free parking. Tickets are 20. I'm just not that
You can't
excited.
beat
And if
that.
I go with the whole,
can't
if I
beat
go with the
that.
whole family, I'm paying 80 bucks to go see a game at FIU.
But look at what you're doing, my guy. Of course you're gonna.
What am
you're
I
making
doing?
it
I'm being a
sound-
family man? Is this
No,
a problem with being a family man? I want to spend
But,
my
like, you're-
weekdays with my family.
It'd be nice
on now.
your favorite MLS team play against a local team who may or may not be laundering money. Okay. But you're supporting local business.
I promise you that if Inter Miami was playing against Orlando at FIU, I would walk there. It would take me half a day, but I would walk there if I had to. But against Miami FC, I really don't give a crap. Like, honestly, I really don't. Like, I'm not. Yes, and I agree with Richard Greenberg. Richard Greenberg said Miami
Yes,
FC
they
has really
do.
nice jerseys. They always kill
Yes,
it
they
with the
do.
jerseys. That I'll give you. That's the only reason I know that they exist. Because if it wasn't for those jersey releases where they like start circulating through Twitter and stuff, I wouldn't even know that team exists. Because who talks about them? Like, I don't. Do you know anybody that talks about them? Like, I know that there were some people from Vice City and stuff that supported the team before Inter Miami, but since then, does anybody go to those games? And I don't
Listen, I
mean
might
that to be mean. I'm just saying, like, I don't think that's like I'm not worried about Miami FC.
I might buy the jersey though. It does look dope.
Yeah, it
does
is.
look
Hey,
dope.
look, when they have all like the Miami neighborhoods and stuff, I think it's dope also.
And
Do
just
you
know
see?
that the money that you spend on that jersey is going to a very wholesome and very clean recipient. No money laundering. Maybe.
Oh, about to say, look, look, Will 13 says he was one of the people that used to go support Miami FC, but he doesn't go anymore. So I'm not poo-pooing on Miami FC. If they still have faithful followers, that's awesome. Good for them. But I'm not worried about going to watch them against Inter Miami. Like, I don't care. Like, if it's $40, I'm not going over there and paying $40 to go to FIU, sit in these bleachers and watch this amateur game. I'm not doing it.
Well, it's not an amateur game. It's Inter Miami also is going to be a professional team playing against Miami FC. So it's not as amateur. And I'll tell you this much. You did mention something to me on the phone, wondering if this game was going to be televised. So maybe if it's televised, then you might not see that much of a showing.
No, if it's not televised, then I might consider going. If it's not
So if
televised,
it
I
is
might consider going.
televised, instead of making the 15-minute drive versus the 50-minute drive that you make from Kendall,
Yeah, because I want to watch
You're
it.
still
I mean,
not-
Inter Miami's playing. I want to watch it. So
And you
if
get
they
real-
do it,
and you get real Cuban coffee from Sweetwater, and like Steve
they have
mentioned, you can get
abuelitas
some
for sure.
fritanga. Oh,
There
for
we
sure
go.
they got abuelitas. I mean, how can you not find? There's a Sedano's like five blocks away from there.
Look at that. Alpha just killed it. That's it.
Oh.
Like, look, televised on my 33. Thank you, Alpha. Yeah,
You know what?
I don't
Don't
know.
take that back. Take that back, Alpha. You never saw that. You looked it up on the
I don't
TV
know.
guide, like from 1999. That doesn't exist anymore. Danny, you're going to the game, bro. I'm dragging you out
Well,
there.
We'll see. All right. Now on Wednesday, we're gonna have obviously on Wednesday we usually do a recap episode. I'm sorry, not a preview episode where we have an opposing team's podcast on with us and they help us preview the game. Obviously, we have no game coming up this Saturday. Thank God we have a bye week, so I get to just chill on Saturday without having my heart broken. But I will tell you that we will have a different type of episode on Wednesday. We're gonna have, I don't know if it's been making the rounds. The Miami Fusion, they have a new. Well, they don't have a new podcast. We have somebody that is making a new podcast, and they're kind of bringing back like old stories and old people that were part of the Miami Fusion and having them on their podcast, kind of talking about the history about the podcast. And since we don't have anything to preview for Saturday, he's going to be on with us and he's going to talk to us about Miami Fusion. So if you're interested in the history of the Miami Fusion and all that went on with that, some stories and people that he's had on, come join us and we'll talk about that on Wednesday. I see
I'm
you've been
definitely
popping up
interested in
a lot of comments as I've been talking.
Yeah, I'm just trying to show you that Miami FC can't help that you got the Brady Bunch, Danny.
I'm a family man. I can't help it.
And then Will mentioned that you could probably sneak in un plato de fritanga into the stadium, and nobody's gonna bat an eye. Nobody.
Let me tell
They'll
you
probably ask you if you got some leftovers or something.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If Messi was part of this team, would we be playing at FIU?
I think that's a great question. I think we would, but
nah,
Messi's not
no
sniffing
way.
Sweetwater.
No way. No way are we playing at FIU.
I mean, I'm not saying Messi's gonna play at FIU.
Oh, so he's
but
staying
I'll
home while
tell
the
you-
team plays the game?
Yeah, I mean, like freaking La Cava's probably gonna play against Miami FC, but not Messi. Messi's not playing no Miami FC.
We got to figure this out because I can't imagine Messi playing out there. All right.
Well,
I
listen,
think we've reached the end. Go ahead.
Everybody that's chiming into the chat, thank you guys so much for tuning in. A lot of podcasts were going on today, and a lot of podcasts are going on this week, and we definitely appreciate all of the love and time that you guys give us. Please, when you get the chance, if you're really interested in some of the history, we're gonna have somebody come on. We're gonna talk a little bit Miami Fusion on Wednesday, so keep around for that. And Danny, everything's good so far. Anything on your mind?
No, again, appreciate everybody. I'm not big on doing this, but I'm gonna say it because everybody tells me that I should be saying it anyway. So if you're still watching, go ahead, like and subscribe. I feel weird as hell saying it, but go ahead, like and subscribe because supposedly it helps us out. How? I don't know, but they say that I should say it. So I'm saying it. Go ahead, like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys hanging on with us for the last hour. And catch us on Wednesday when we have some Miami Fusion talk. And if nothing else, go ahead. Look, we get a Saturday. We don't have to get hurt, Chris. I'm excited. What are you gonna do this Saturday?
I am gonna do nothing because I am finally gonna be happy that we're not gonna lose, and maybe I'll get some fritanga.
I'm gonna sit on my couch and just rot and watch NBA playoffs all weekend. That's what I'm doing. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll catch you guys on Wednesday.